Page number 156. However, if you have the ability to physically help someone, don't be content to just sit back and pray. Instead, do something. Lend a helping hand. Charity used to say that prayer is the first means of the weak and last means of the strong. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ. Prayer is the first means of the weak and last means of the strong. If you can do nothing, then by all means pray. But if you can feed someone, do it. If you can house someone, do it. It is your human obligation to try to solve circumstances before you pray for them. Of course, if you do not have enough to feed your own family, then it cannot be correct to feed someone else's family. You must always fulfill your duties first. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ. You must always fulfill your own duties first. So some of the people, youngsters have, they think that we will not work for IT, we will not work for this field, that field, and then we would want to do the service. All these are good, but trying to do the service without actually taking responsibility for your own duties first is not the right approach. Sena? So that this reminds me of the proverb, charity begins at home. So in fact, charity begins at home, learning also begins at out of home only. With the things that you see happening around you at home, you will learn a lot. Yesterday we were discussing ego formation. When you just observe the baby, how the ego grows. Ego is the first sign of the growth of the subtle body. Of the manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, the first one to grow is ego, ahankara. Afterwards, the other things come. Okay? So just remember that. Yes, said Daju. It is sad that we cannot always do very much to alleviate suffering. Although we may want to help everybody in the world, we simply do not have the personal resource to do so. The least you can do for the suffering person is to spend time with him. Underline ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. So this is what the preceptors do. When you come to them, they at least spend time with you. Commiserate with them. Sit next to him. You may say nothing. You may do nothing. You are simply there. Your presence is very impactful, you see. Because of it, your friend perceives that now my help is here and this gives him strength. So there are multiple things. You can give resources, you can give time, you can just be there. The presence itself will actually help. So many ways in which you can actually help others, apart from praying. So, so prayer is the first means of the weak. The person who is weak will do first thing as the prayer. A person who is strong will use prayer as the last thing. After they have tried everything, then they will actually use the prayer as the last thing. Okay? So it's not about that whenever you see suffering, don't do anything, just sit and pray. So somebody comes home hungry. Rather than trying to cook something, you will say, let's pray now. They'll get even more angry. Right? So what we can do at our level, first we should do that. And then if necessary, you can pray. Is that okay? So now connecting through prayer. What is the best way to pray? I asked. Between the singer who hits every note and the singer who means every note, we prefer the latter, don't we? Yes, I agreed. And when an artist has moved you, you easily forgive their wrong note or their unpolished brush stroke. He said, only sincerity can touch the human heart. If a person were to say, I love you in angry tone, would we feel moved? Now we need to ask the youngsters, have they heard anyone tell them, I love you in an angry tone? They are the most experienced people in this field. So we can tap into their experience. So if you've not had an experience, you can have one going forward. Okay. So in other words, the tone of the voice also matters apart from the content of the thought that you put out. How you say it is also something that's very, very important, the manner. Okay, you might be right in what you are saying, but how do you put it out in a way that's not going to hurt anyone? That is a very important part of the journey. Okay, the prayer too, it is a feeling and sincerity that counts. So prayer is a feeling, it's not just words. So from words in the prayer, we go towards feeling. From feelings, we go to vibrations, and then we go beyond to the center. That's the point of uttering any prayer. So from the words, you go to feelings. From feelings, you go to vibration, and from vibrations, you go to the ultimate. That's the sequence. In other words, when you start doing the prayer, you are only uttering the words. You are not able to grasp that inner feeling or the vibration or the connection with the ultimate. You are only saying some words. So it becomes mechanical. But eventually, when our heart becomes a bit more softer, when the consciousness becomes a bit more subtle, then we start pondering over the words that we say in the prayer. When you start pondering on the words, now you start getting a idea of feeling. You can start feeling the prayer. That's the second level. Now, as and when the consciousness further evolves and we start moving more closer to divinity and spirituality becomes part of our life, then the feelings gradually move towards vibration. So you are no longer worried about the feeling also. You get rid of the feeling also. You give it up. You are now worried in terms of the connecting at the level of the vibration. That's the third level. Then after that, you move even further. Then you don't look at prayer either for words or feelings or vibrations. You look at as only one simple thing, as a means of connecting to the divine. That's it. And it's a direct connection, one to one. Once you can actually get into that state where you can actually feel that connection with the divine without the need for words or the feelings or the vibrations, then you don't even need the prayer at that time. You have transcended the prayer because you have now started feeling that connection with the divine all the time. So, prayer is a connection that is established between the seeker and the sought, between the devotee and God. That is the connection initially. But the connection has its own multiple levels of evolution. You remember that we read three things in the complete works from prayer to prayerful state, from prayerful state to embodiment of prayer. So, whenever I ask any question, I see that one response comes in this group. And our Gopal Krishna turns to the right and start looking at the space as if the space is going to give him some answers. He turned, you can just observe that body language. So I want to see what is there to the right of him whenever he looks there. Huh? And this I have seen in multiple meetings, not only in this meeting. Every time it is turning to the right. And you know, what does that mean? It's space of clarity, but the space of clarity is outside, but what you get is inside in the left brain. The right side of the body is managed by the left half of the brain. Left side of the body is managed by the right half of the brain. So any right-handed person, when they want to look for answers, looks to the right. When they look to the right, they are supposed to stimulate the left part of the brain, which is the knowledge aspect of the brain, the intellectual, the logical aspect of the brain. See how we do our body language. So you want to activate the left part of the brain because you want an answer. You look right. Does it make sense? They're all part of body language. What is it that you are actually trying to activate? Which part of the brain are you trying to activate? Will determine in which direction you will see. Okay. If you want to activate the lowest part of the brain, you look up. In general, where you look, you are activating the opposite side of the brain. Okay. Now, generally, look at any person's. If they are right-handed, they look right. If they are left-handed, they look left. Okay. Anyway, interesting. Now, I want to look at Bharat. Bharat is always straight only. So, in that sense, his space of clarity is right in front. He does not want to use his brain. He'll aram se sit there. Anyway, this fellow is going to ask question. He anyway has to give answers. Why to scratch my brain about it? Right? So then you will sit straight and look front. Okay? So that's another way of doing things. That's the best thing I tell you. Best reassurance. The person who is supposed to give you the answer is the person who's asking the question. Right? That's the best reassurance. No, we don't need to worry at all in anything. If they're asking the question, it's their duty to give the answer. Right? So, anyway, interesting. So, now Gopal Krishna has also started sitting in front. He's going to look straight now, not look to the right. Now, let us see how consciously he is able to do that and how long is he able to do that. Because body language is driven by the subconscious, not by the conscious mind. The conscious mind might make you sit straight, but the subconscious mind immediately will make you turn to the right direction. It happens without our knowledge. Okay? Okay. In prayer too, it is feelings and sincerity that count. There's a nice story that comes to mind. An ordinary cowherd was looking after his cows and buffaloes. Every night he prayed to the Lord and said, "If you come and join me, I will protect you from the heat by letting you sit in the shade of my favorite tree. I will give you a bath, and whatever you like, whenever you like, I will scratch your back." This prayer was heard over and over again by a Brahmin, a priest who lived next door to the farmer. One day, Brahmin said, "What sort of prayer are you doing? Is this? You are going to give bath to God? You are going to scratch his back? This is nonsense." So the farmer humbly said, "You please teach me." The Brahmin agreed and taught him some Sanskrit shlokas or verses. The next day, the farmer forgot the words. "Please teach me again," he said. "I forgot what you taught me." The Brahmin taught him again, but the farmer forgot them again. This process repeated itself a few times. In the end, the farmer was confused and disheartened. Now then God came to the Brahmin in a dream one night and said, "Look, you have really spoiled this fellow's life." His prayer was the best prayer. He had expressed himself. You see, he said, "This is what I am going to do with you. It's all that I know." A Sanskrit thing, you forget. You don't even understand the meaning of it. It's not that we are decrying the value of the ancient slokas. They are wonderful, but you have to understand them. A prayer has to have meaning to you. Otherwise, you are just like a parrot repeating it. So that's why in the night, when we do the prayer meditation, we utter the prayer 2 3 times and then we try to dwell on the meaning of the prayer. Okay. After dwelling on the meaning of the prayer, we try to catch the feelings behind the prayer. After catching the feelings with the prayer, we try to go to the level of vibration of that prayer and then go to sleep, thinking of the divine. Sarina. So can somebody repeat what I said?
We utter the prayer two, three times and then we dwell. Now, we utter the prayer two, three times and then we try to understand ponder over the meaning of it, and then we get the feeling of it, catch the feeling of it, and eventually catch the vibration of it.
Then go to sleep with the thought of the divine. That is what you do. Gradually, over a period of time, different kinds of meanings starts manifesting in our mind. We can actually grasp the meaning at multiple levels. So the meaning of the prayer gradually evolves. As the meaning of the prayer evolves, the subtlety of the feeling also changes. Okay? The feeling might be initially about guilt, about the wrongs that we have committed. It could be about seeking repentance. It could be about humility. It could be about sincerity. It could be about simplicity. So the feelings that is associated with the prayer gradually changes. Yeah. Like the meaning change. Then the vibrational level also becomes more and more subtle as you go further. Each of these gives you an indication that the connection with the divine through the prayer is now becoming stronger. So that ultimately we don't require any of these three. We can just be connected with the divine all the time. It's at that time then we say that you have now become an embodiment of prayer. When you become an embodiment of prayer, whatever you pray for is answered. Okay? You remember the first part of the discussion yesterday we had? What to pray at any point of time, what to pray for. So when you become an embodiment of prayer, you will automatically pray for the right that thing which is appropriate for that moment. It comes out naturally through the heart. Okay? So Gopal Krishna, you can look to the right, no problem. You can look at your space of clarity. Suddenly you change your position, you have become very serious. When we apply the conscious mind over the functioning of the subconscious mind, we artificially become serious. Remember this. This is also a learning. We are no longer natural. We are applying the force of the conscious mind on the subconscious. So we now become less natural, more unnatural. So there is no need to do that. Aram se sit in your chair, comfort chair, and just let go and see, go with the flow. Okay. See, all these are learnings. See, it happens right in front of your eyes. But we don't pick any of these learnings. It's happening right in front of us. Right? And one of the ways that Bharat handles is he looks down. So that this fellow should not catch hold of me and make some comment about me. That's his way of handling things. Okay? And Sudha and Ganeshan are always sitting quietly and smiling and thinking that anyway, we are not the object of this discussion. So thank God we are not. So they will be internally praying to God. Thank God. Anyway, but why I pointed this is normally we don't point out so much, but it is all part of the learning. Whatever you just saw now is part of the natural thing that happens in everyday conversation with everyone in our life. So when you become good at observing all these things, no, their life becomes more richer. You can utilize that also for your journey in life. Okay. So it becomes a means of connecting to the other person. When you connect to the person at a deeper level, it becomes easier to kind of move closer to them. Okay. But only thing is, some people are very sensitive. When you actually tell them all these things, they may take it the wrong way. So you need to be very selective in who you actually give the information to. Not everyone will take it in the right spirit because not everyone is connected with the spirit. They are connected with the spirit outside, not inside. I think Ganeshan did not catch the spirit outside. Okay, you want to ask something, Ganeshan?
No, once one Abhyasi asked Chariji, how do you know everything? He just said, I observe everything.
So, one of the signs of spiritual growth is how sharp our observation becomes. Our observation grows, it becomes more and more sensitive as we grow in spirituality. Eventually, we stabilize at the level of witness, where we observe everything, in and out. You can observe. Okay, that's another sign of growth of spirituality. Ability to observe more and more deeply. And it's this observation that actually gives you an opportunity to connect more deeply. So you can choose at what level you want to connect with this person. At the level of the thought, at the level of the behavior, at the level of the feelings, or at the level of the vibration, or at the level of the center. You can choose depending on where you can actually catch or where you can actually observe the changes. I thought. So for those who are not yet married, this is one way of being able to get along with your wife. You will have a better interaction and relation with your wife. Remember, there are two genders. The two genders think differently, grasp the meaning differently, feel differently, vibrate differently. Remember that. So Ganeshan without marriage only is nodding his head. So I'm just wondering if it had been married, what how strongly he would nod his head. But these two brains, the two gender brains, are wired differently. So they look and perceive the things in the world totally differently. And then many times the husbands are at a loss. What did they say or do to upset the wife? But the wife is upset. And working that out itself is a big ching for the husbands. What happened? The reason is they actually look and feel the world differently. And these people actually look at and feel the world differently. So it's very difficult to get those feelings for them to, for the husband to look from the perspective of the wife and for the wife to look at the perspective of the husband. It's very difficult to get them. That's why marriage is an institution which actually helps you to grow as a human being. When you get married, it actually helps you to grow. Because then you have to interact with the other person at multiple levels. So when I say this to people, sir, you've given a very nice idea. You are saying that marriage is an institution for learning. Why not get married more number of times? I can learn more. Okay. So all these ideas also will come. And now Bharat is thinking, yes, yes, right thought. The last thought is the right thought. Forget about the other thoughts. Yes, yes, last thought. Multiple marriages, multiple learnings. That's why, many cinema actors, marriage, get married multiple times. For a person who has the right way of learning, right intention of learning, right perspective of learning, one relationship is adequate for all learning. Bharat, I'm clarifying it for you. One relationship is adequate for all learning, provided if it is handled and observed properly. So, why do people marry multiple times? Because what they are supposed to learn from the first marriage, they don't learn it. When they don't learn it, then they require to marry multiple times. Marry and separate, marry and separate. But they don't learn anything. A person who is willing to learn can learn from one marriage only. Neither. So I hope I have not disappointed any of the youngsters. One relationship is adequate. That's why one relationship with the Guru is adequate. It will fulfill all your needs. You don't need to look for multiple gurus. One guru who is imbibed with spirit divinity can give you the sense of completion. Every learning that we make, every experience that we go through in life is come for only one purpose, to make us complete and stabilize in the state of completion. That is all it is. Okay, so one guru is, but remember from yesterday's session, youth session, what is divinity? Divinity is that thing that, in spite of all the different deficiencies that each one of us have, which is different, just by adding divinity, we become complete. That is divinity. So, divinity makes any person who is incomplete for whatever reason complete. That is divinity. Okay, and that is what you are trying to catch hold of in spirituality. What is that essence that can metamorphosize any person with any background? You will not say this is going to work only for this person or that person. Divinity is such that ubiquitous thing. It's a unique thing that it makes anybody complete. It doesn't matter what their deficiencies are. So people can come to you as an abhyasi from any background with any issues. If you are able to work in the right perspective and the right spirit, you will still be able to cater to their needs. Does it make sense? Ganeshan, you wanted to ask something? You moved forward. I could feel it. I could feel the wind blowing in my direction.
Yeah, so you made the point that that essence of it. I may be wrong, but I felt that essence is what is as sent as a pranavati to us. Is it right?
Pranahuti is that one aspect of that essence. Whatever we infuse into the heart of the Abhyasi is the essence of life itself, life of life. Pranasya prana. That is the essence that is going to be infused. When that essence is infused, everyone will start feeling a sense of completion. And that is what makes this meditation unique. Daji writes, no, earlier in the book we read, without Pranahuti, this method is like any other method. It is the Pranahuti that makes it unique. Okay. So coming up to name analysis 7-9, as usual, we have lagged behind. At least let's finish this page.
Brother, I have one question.
Good. Bharat, the question is about multiple marriages. Go ahead.
Like in prayer, after we say the prayer, we meditate on that meaning. But do we at that time receive transmission, or it is only that when we take a thought that the divine source of light is in my, only that time we draw a transmission?
Transmission can come to us at any time. Not necessary at the time of prayer. Prayer works differently. In all these things that I mentioned about words, meanings, feelings, vibrations, I did not say the word prayer, the transmission. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that is only I was thinking.
So, transmission is a different process altogether. It's like a transmission is like a focusing of something on our heart. So, in prayer, what are we actually focusing on? And how do we get the transmission? Transmission we get when the perceptor focuses their attention on our heart. So there is an attentional element involved in transmission. It's like there are sun rays everywhere. you use the lens to bring the focus of the sun rays onto one particular point, and then the sun rays gets converted into fire. Can you see that? The fire element or the heat element was already there in the sun rays. But when you actually use the glass and bring the sun's rays to focus at one particular point, the fire element or the heat element now becomes multifold. Then you can get the fire. Right? Likewise, transmission is there everywhere. Now, if at all at any point of time we become more focused in terms of bringing the attention of the Lord on us by our prayer, we might get transmission also, we might get grace also. Okay? So it's a question of making our heart like the lens. Can we make our heart as the lens and get the heart ready to receive the transmission which is everywhere? So remember this example. Sun's rays are everywhere. When you use the lens, you can actually bring the focus of the sun's rays up to one point, and that becomes the power. It will start burning. The power of burning was inherently present in the sun rays, but by doing the act of bringing it into one particular point, we get that power. That's exactly how the transmission works. The Abhyasi need to sit in front of the perceptor, and the perceptor brings their attention on the heart of the Abhyasi. So in other words, the perceptor is now focusing their attention on the heart of the Abhyasi, and it's that focusing that now becomes the means of the flow of the transmission. Okay. Now, can this be done to oneself during the prayer? Theoretical answer is yes. But then that is not what we are doing in prayer. Is that what we are trying to do in prayer? Are we trying to focus anything on our heart in the prayer? No. What we are doing in prayer is we are actually trying to connect our heart to the divine. Right? And we are trying to connect our heart through the divine through subtle and subtle means. Attention is not a very subtle mean. Compared to attention, awareness is more subtle. Compared to awareness, existence is more subtle. You remember that sequence that we had spoken about? Concentration to attention to awareness to existence and a state beyond existence, non-existence. That's the sequence. So attention is not the only means of evolution. Attention is necessary during meditation. Attention and awareness is during meditation. But in the prayer state, we start with the prayer, gradually go into the state of prayerfulness. From prayerfulness, we actually go into the state of embodiment of prayer. All these three things are more subtler states than attention itself. But it's a very good question that you asked. Nowhere we have actually read, at least from what I recall about prayer being a means of attracting transmission. We have not read that. Because the way that we handle the prayer to connect to God is different from what we handle transmission. The definition of transmission is attentional power of the soul. That is the definition of transmission. Keep that in mind, then you will find it easy to understand this. The difference between transmission and prayer. Transmission is attentional power of the soul. Of which soul? The soul which is connected to the master who is connected to the ultimate. That's important. Attentional power of the soul which is connected to the master who himself is connected to the ultimate. That is transmission. Okay? But it's a good question. I'll stop this and then give you some